Alright, new DLC, beat Scarlet, completed the decks, haven't played through Violet. Let's do a challenge run. What's the challenge? Commander style. What's Commander? Based on the MTG Commander format, or Elder Dragon Highlander if you prefer. Basically, you pick a Pokemon and the rest of the team has to be one of those types. Pure Commander would be that you can't use any other secondary types, but I want to be a little looser about this. And to add an extra layer challenge to this, they all have to be shiny, which means plenty of outbreak scouting, sandwiches, and prayer, because I just gotta make things harder for myself. Got it, good, let's go. After making our character look equally shiny, we get through the intro video, pick our starter, have our first rival battle, and then do one last bit of setup. That setup being moving the entire Paldean Pokedex from home onto the saving, and then putting it back, therefore allowing us to complete the dex, which makes the shiny charm, which doubles the chance of finding a shiny Pokemon, available before we even get our first badge. Now, one may think that this is cheating. Listen, I wanted to get this video done before the DLC came out, and I really needed all the help I could get, especially with a couple parts. Back in Violet, we collect a bunch of rewards for completing the decks and use some of them to teach our cat how to stand. After that, we feed a sandwich to a lizard, have it fly us out of the cave, feed up Arven, Nimona, a couple Stargoons, and then get 2 of the stories. After that, we say hey to the professor, get 1 more story, learn to ride a lizard, and then go back to pick up the shiny charm. After grabbing some free sandwich ingredients, it's time to start looking for our commander by scrolling through the different outbreaks, which involves changing the clock. A lot. Eventually we find the outbreak of our soon-to-be commander, Dreepy. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a trek, and after a couple close calls I decide to make the cat extra tall. Eventually we reach the area and begin to cull the herds of Dreepy, thus increasing our chances of finding a shiny. And it doesn't take long until we do find a shiny. However, it's Megaman! 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 I was tempted to switch gears and use this as my commander, but I decided to stick to my guns. Fortunately, we do soon find our commander, get lucky and catch her in a moonball, and name her B2. After this, we deposit the other members of the team and officially start the challenge. I did, however, make 2 pretty big miscalculations. The first is that Dreepy do not learn any more moves through level up and are incredibly weak until they evolve at level 50. And second, because I didn't get any gym badges before this, she's a little too high of a level and will not listen to me half the time, which includes doing auto battles to farm through more outbreaks. To remedy this, I decided to see if she's overleveled enough and go through the first 2 gyms. So we kicked an olive, bit a bugbear, collected some sunflowers, and slapped down a Trudeau-Wudo, just barely surviving those fights. But now, thankfully, she will listen to us without an issue, meaning it's time to collect the next member of our team. The outbreak was on a nice, slightly angled slope, which made it easy to see all the Pokemon there. And it isn't long before we find, catch, and add Alpha to the team. After throwing a few candies at her so she can learn a few useful moves, we also throw a Duskstone in there so we can evolve her into a Misdreavus. Thanks to the built-in move reminder system in this game, I'm able to teach Alpha both Magical Leaf and Power Gem, making so she can easily take down the first and second Titans, which will also make it easier to find new team members because we can traverse more easily thanks to the sandwich upgrades. Speaking of new team member, it's time to search for number 3, which, spoilers, is Charcadet. And as many of you know, that one's a pain to hunt, mostly due to the fact that the only thing that changes is its eye color. The good news is, I'm experienced. I caught 3 of these guys in Scarlet before this challenge. Despite my experience, it still took a couple hours until I found the blue-eyed child. But after that great effort, we add Ceres to the team. However, she's neither a ghost nor a dragon, so we need to fix that. So we go through some caves to get on top of a plateau and smash some teacups until we get enough chips to trade to some weird person to give us some armor. Using that armor on Saris evolves her into Cerulege. And just in case we run into someone who throws out a bunch of dark or ghost moves, we go on a hunt for our next member. This takes us to a nice scenic area where there's a shiny Bagon overlooking the place. We then catch and add Salazar to the team. Now it's time to tackle Team Star. First couple are pretty easy as we're a little over-leveled, especially Giacomo, who doesn't really put up much of a fight after Cerulege turns into a full fire type, making it a really easy win. Mela gets the misfortune of fighting in the rain, which cancels out her Torkoal's drought ability, as well as weakening all her fire moves, making it very easy for Alpha to just power gem through everything. We then head to Levincia and have another battle with Nemona. Alpha kinda just destroys her. After having a hide-and-seek call-up with Iono, we take her on in battle and have a Misdreavus off. You know, it's kinda funny. My Misdreavus is the yellow one, and yet hers is the electric type. Anyway, we crush her too. We then head to the next town, go to the next town, win an auction there, and then go back to the previous town to have another gym battle. Why am I getting Gen 2 flashes? Must be the lighthouse. Anyway, the battle itself is actually a little difficult when it gets to his last Pokemon. He's chunky and gets a couple crits in, but B2's able to finish the job. After that, we do a couple more battles so Salazar can evolve. Time for our next team member, where things get a bit weird, but interesting. Now, as a lot of people will tell you, these games are prone to a few bugs and issues here and there. But one really weird one are these messed up looking Pikachus, which are apparently ghost type, which, that should work for us. Also, the outbreak is right by the bridge where we got B2. Unfortunately, due to the placement of the outbreak circle, half of it is cut off by a mountain, which means not nearly as many will spawn. Also, for some reason, they like to hang out in that little bush near the hill, which makes it even harder to find them. So now it's time to crank out the sandwiches. Unfortunately, there are other ghost and fairy types around, so we're bound to pull the others when doing this. So, this took even longer than the Charcadet one. Like, I'm not kidding. I had to do a few different sessions until I was done here. But I did find a couple shinies. One was a blue duck. And, believe it or not, Super Fighting Robot! Megaman! Yeah, I found a second shiny Pawniard. Crazy. But then, finally, found one. Just hiding in the bush. Had to look for the little gray cheeks. But after that, finally caught Spooky Chew. So, I then decided, hey, I still got a lot of time left on the sandwich. Let's just run around the area and see if anything shows up. And guess what? I am taunted, but then rewarded. Do I feel better? So I decided to name this one Peekaboo. I then compared the two stats and natures and decided Peekaboo would actually be a better teammate. Spooky Chew can be our little cheerleader. But that's finally done. Oh, also I put in a code to get a Mew before the event ended. There was no real good place to put this, I just wanted to show off that I got a Mew. Hee hee. I then made a dragon sandwich in a swamp and found a shiny Goomy. Yay, luck. And with Goober makes 6. With the team put together, it's time to chase some Titans, while also being chased by a Venomoth icon. Weird. Saris deals with both of them without too much trouble, so now we can jump high and fly. After this, I have a decision to make. You see, Goober here has a couple different evolutionary forms, depending on the game he evolves in. Meaning, if I want to go with that form, I need to transfer him to the other game, and then bring him back. So the decision comes down to whether I want to play things as straight as possible, barring a couple other liberties, or add a bit of flavor. I choose time travel.
Wow.
Now that we have a steel type to mitigate the fairy and dragon issue that our team has, it's time for the next gym. After putting in our order, which results in all the patrons getting crushed, we face off against everyone's favorite, Larry, who isn't able to do too much to our new steel type, thankfully. Afterwards, we have another battle with Nimona, who is significantly more challenging with her Quaquaval thanks to the rain and the fact that she keeps getting a speed boost every time she uses that god darn Aqua Step. But thanks to Salazar's defenses, we're able to survive and knock it out. After that, it's time for our third star battle, which isn't too difficult thanks to spamming side beams, having steel types, and strong defenses. On to gym number 6. We get through the double battles pretty easily thanks to our abundance of ghost moves. Unfortunately, our commander still has trouble pulling her own weight at this point. Regardless, a Terra-powered Shadow Sneak wins the day. On to the 4th Team Star member, and I'm realizing I was probably a little underleveled for this. Not helped by the fact that most of his team is quite chunky and is fairy type, which, as many people know, is one of the stronger types. But after a long battle of attrition, finally take him down. So at this point I realized we probably should level up a little. Thankfully, this area is perfect for leveling up because there's a bunch of chances, and with a couple sandwiches, we can find a lot more. It also helps that a good chunk of the team are physical ghost types, so we take no damage, and they take a lot of damage. This lets B2 finally evolve and finally be a useful member of the team, which includes learning some pretty strong dragon and ghost moves. Once more we battle Nimona, and like last time it's a little trickier. That Terra boosted Aqua Step is a pain like always, but B2 is able to survive and knock it out with the Phantom Force. Good thing we evolved her. After doing some Simon Says with the gym teacher, we take on the gym leader. And Sarah's pretty much just Shadow Claws through everything as they're not that physically strong. On to the final Titan. We're able to get through it pretty easily thanks to Peekaboo's Wood Hammer and her abundance of dragon moves. And now we can climb! And while traversing a mountain, we come across a shiny goat. Neat. Goats are cool. After a bit of leveling, where I also learned that auto-battling doesn't let you evolve, Goober evolves, followed shortly by Salazar. With our team leveled up and ready, it's time to take on the final star boss, who, by the way, probably has the best little gauntlet. So yeah, we got a flying type with Intimidate, and we have a few ghosts, one of which knows Psychic. So we pretty much had this in the bag. And that's the last of the star bosses. Now to get the final badge, where we slide, and then take on the final gym leader, who's an ice type. While we have a Pokemon who's Terra Fire, and whose Terra Fire boosted move heals it. Yep. Now it's time to finish off the 3 stories. We'll start with Arvin's, where we head to the lighthouse, give a little info on what we have to do for the final bit, and then we challenge him to a fight. This cooking team is a little tough, but we're able to get through them, and Peekaboo is able to cripple Mabosstiff by playing too rough, ending the Path of Legends. While still dark, we head over to school and face against Clavel. It's going decently well until he sends out Skeledirge. It's decently physically bulky for a fire type, and it's been lowering the special attacks using Snarl. He then takes out nearly my entire team, until a Terra boosted Dragon Pulse from B2 finishes him off. After that we face Penny, who, in contrast to Clavel, became much easier as the battle went on. Mostly because after Umbreon and Vaporeon were dealt with, a Terra boosted Bitterblade is a little difficult to deal with. And after a lot of dialogue, we finish Starfall Street. Now it's time for the Pokemon League. But right before we head inside, we do one more battle where B2 evolves into Dragapult. Once the final preps are done out of the way, we head on into the building. After a brief interview, we take on the first member of the Elite Four, Rika. Her ground types don't really do much against Alpha because she can defy gravity. And then we just pelt her with a bunch of energy balls. Our next opponent is against Poppy.
Leave it to Poppy!
Tiny child who likes all things metal.
Poppy will finish this!
Steel types, bitter blade. I think you can do the math. So now, is Poppy actually a child, or is she just a little person?
Poppy could tell you, but then Poppy would have to kill you.
Okay, gonna leave that one alone. Coming in to not only take the crown for favorite gym leader of the region, but also favorite Elite Four member, it's Larry. Yeah! Instead of normal types, he's using flying types. But gets to use his prize to Raptor. It's a pretty good back and forth battle, until his own Flamigo takes itself out. Finally, it's Hassel. His specialty is dragon types, however, that's also one of ours. So he isn't too much of a hassle.
Boo! You stink!
And then we face off against the champion Gita. Our King Gambit is actually a bit of a pain, but after that the rest of the team isn't too hard to deal with, and I decided to terrestrialize Goober to see what that thing looks like, even though it was probably smarter to stay as a steel type for most of that fight. Still won. But we're not done yet, as we have one more champion to face. We head back to Mesagoza to face off against Nimona one last time. Like the last couple of fights, the team isn't too hard to deal with until Quaquaval comes out. Then I came up with a strategy. While her duck can keep getting faster and faster, it doesn't have an attack boosting move. So I keep switching in Salazar and then back out into somebody else who can take a couple hits, until finally I'm able to survive an ice move and deal the final blow. Beating Nimona completes the Victory Road story. Afterwards, we get the call to rendezvous at the Area Zero gate. We're given permission to enter and head down into the crater. We make our way down, get through a couple fights, find the robo duplicate of the professor, attempt to turn off the time machine that's bringing all these weird monstrous Pokemon to the present day, and then fight the robo professor, whose automated defense procedures have activated. Salazar and Alpha deal with most of the team. However, it gets a little complicated once Iron Valiant comes out. That boosted attack makes short work of Alpha. And when I send out Peekaboo, I realize it has Poison Jab. So I decide to tear it into Ghost to get a damage boost, as well as take less damage from the Poison Jab. Afterwards, we get a scripted but still pretty cool battle between our two lizards. Too bad it's not shiny. It's still Dragon. One hyper-boosted Terra Blast, and a sad goodbye later, and we ride off into the sunset, or I guess sunrise, whatever. All while music plays that will definitely get this video copyright claimed, so we're gonna play something else. And with that, that's the end of the challenge. It was pretty fun. Let me take in some of the areas a little more and appreciate some of my team members with how much work went into obtaining them. And I got to use some more pseudo-legendaries than I normally would be able to. So yeah, this was a fun challenge. Would I ever do it again? Not with the shiny rules, no. As usual, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this simple challenge video that took a little longer to put together, because I did not anticipate how long it would take to find some of these Pokemon. But anyway, if you want to see more, I got another challenge video that involves plushes, and I also have an entire playthrough of Scarlet on the channel as well if you want to check that out. It's pretty much uncut, so if that's your thing, cool. If not, that's fine too. Either way, I'll see you guys in the DLC. Take care.